deaths. So first I want to appreciate his struggle and commitment, how he did along this struggle. So my question has got two parts. First is from Reeds, and then second is from the rest of the panel. I come from Balochistan, and in Balochistan, thousands of people are missing. And I would not go in detail, just I wanted Reed to compare it with the rest of the world. Recently, last week, in only 4 days, above 50 people were abducted in different areas of Balochistan. And day before yesterday, a person was planted with a bomb and he was detonated. He was a missing person, and later on this happened with him. And it was very simple. He was planting a bomb and he was killed. Very simple. Family was witness. In front of them, he was abducted. Even when he was abducted, his family came to the press club and they did a press conference. Last day, he was abducted. So my question is, how do you compare? Do you see such atrocities in the rest of the world also, in your struggle, have you seen? And my second question is from the panel. What are the possibilities to bring these criminals, or whatever you call them, to justice? Because the voice of people does not come out. They are silenced. No, for example, this one family member of the person was abducted and it was done like that. So it would be difficult for the rest of the family members to come and raise their voice. Thank you.
The instruments of international justice, in fact, they've always been targeted towards either defeated adversaries, as in Nuremberg and Tokyo, against powerless, African, warlords or ex-leaders, or against enemies of the West, like Vladimir Putin and Slobodan Milosevic. Not always. I mean, I have to go, but to a large extent. Right now we're living, a turning point in international justice, because the fact that the ICC issued these warrants may be the end of the ICC. We are now looking at American sanctions. Those of us who were in The Hague a few weeks ago at the ASB, people are freaking out. And we see sanctions coming against the ICC and against people who work at the ICC. And I think we have to ask, will the fact that the ICC has for the first time shown that international justice can be even-handed, will that be, will international law die in the rubble of Gaza? Or will people here and people from Balochistan and people from Africa and like-minded countries around the world rise up and defend international justice at this key moment so that it rises from the ashes of Gaza? I think we're at a really critical moment in the world of international justice.
Thank you for this call for principled stand in favor of international law. And I don't know if you want to close by a couple of minutes comments.
I'm trying to close. I think it's that moment when also students in class ask you this question, but you told us prohibition of force is prohibited, and then the next day there is a bomb taking another state. And you try to explain how is this possible. It's a difficult question. Evidently the first, I would say the first requirement for criminal accountability to happen is the will to carry out investigations. But at the same time, let's not forget that the reason why we are here today is advocacy, was actually the efforts of the families who, despite of the states denying that their loved one when disappeared, which were saying, you are crazy, that's not true, you don't have your loved one went away with their lover, what were the excuses? The families were insisting to bring this to international agenda, and here we are today, and we've achieved, I think, a lot in the past decades. And I think something that you can do is really running through this international regional advocacy as well, which in my knowledge, at least you've been already very actively doing, and it's often through registering cases to different human rights mechanisms which are then pressuring the country, and in some cases it actually does help. And this kind of systematic, if you like, human rights violations that you've been mentioning, they do happen worldwide. They happen, I would say, in different modalities nowadays, but unfortunately they do happen worldwide. What I do think is that it's just really, really important is that you are aware that you can achieve a lot also through the different international regional forums. With this, perhaps I would close just by saying that the reason why I actually started to work on the crime of enforced disappearances was because I previously worked more in the human rights, humanitarian question, but I always felt, even with the families, that they felt we are not devoting sufficient time to the criminal accountability, and it actually did matter for them. It's not about either the search or the investigations, it's about both. They are both parallel obligations and rights, I think, of the families. So perhaps I'll just close with a statement saying, I'll say it first in Spanish, donde está no importa, pero quien lo hizo también. Where there are matters, but who did it as well. Thank you.
I know Baloch National Movement nas delegation as Geneva ke basune और जेनवाज टिदा खातर बसुने के दुनिया ना औली को कांग्रेस अस मन्निंग अटिए और आकी इनफोर्स डिसअपीयरेंसेस नजिया मन्निंग अटिए तो बलोच नेशनल मूवमेंट ना कोशिश तंदादे कि तेना तवारे तेना मखलूक ना तवारे तेना बेगवा मरो का मखलूक ना तवारे दुनिया ना तमाम हमो इदारत इसकान सर के कि ओफ्ता ताल्लुकदारियस असे नासे वड़ से पाकिस्तान तो न रहे BNM ना कोशिश तंदादे कि अंदा इदारा गाता खफ्ते मालिन नंतेना तवार नजरियटे नंतेना दा फोटू कि तिखानुन दुनिया ना मुख्तलिफिंगा इदारा गाता कुंडान तमाम मुल्क आता नुमाइंदा अंदा वर्ल्ड कांग्रेस for enforced disappearances natati ki banninga tiyo shirkat karninga tiyo nanofte da paninga sobmand manning na koshish karninga tiyo ताकि वो नना तवार तो हम तवार मरेर और पाकिस्तान न खिलाफ एक्शन लेंगा नंतोन कुमक मरेर मिन्नतवार.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I would like to bring your attention towards the enforced disappearances in occupied Balochistan. Actually, my question is from Flip, but anyone can answer this. Pakistan being responsible for widespread enforced disappearances in Balochistan and its refusal to sign the International Convention for the protection of all persons from enforced disappearances. How can universal jurisdiction be exercised to hold Pakistani officials accountable? And are there successful precedents of using international tools in cases where a state itself perpetrates such crimes and avoids international treaties? Thank you very much.
Merci.
Can you still use universal jurisdiction to prosecute Pakistani officials, although Pakistan has not ratified the convention? Yeah. Okay. I think it depends a little bit on the countries where proceedings might unfold. Well, first of all, as tried to explain, you generally at some point need the presence of a suspect on the territory of the country that will exercise universal jurisdiction. So there's a big work of trying to monitor the travels of potential suspects. You have to do like case building in advance and be prepared, especially when the suspects just travel through a country. That is very difficult to open up criminal investigations when you don't have at least some sort of lasting presence. I'm not saying that you need to be a resident, but just passing through is very complicated. There are just a handful of universal jurisdiction cases that have gone to court when the suspect was arrested when he entered the country. Generally, you need to have a longer presence to allow the authorities to investigate. The fact that Pakistan has not ratified the convention, at least in some countries, would not be an obstacle. Most countries require that the crimes they will be prosecuting are also crimes in the country where they were committed. I assume that it is illegal under Pakistani law to arrest and make people disappear, whatever the legal definition really is. So it's just having the crimes match in Pakistan and in the country that would prosecute the perpetrators. But I think that the biggest question is, how do you find them? How do you monitor them? That's a big work that has to be undertaken.
Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup, Philippe. Je laisse la